Ray Allen, the Hall of Famer, two-time NBA champ. And we wanted to have Ray on so I could still call him the greatest three-point shooter of all time, and then that'll probably change in a couple of days here. But Ray Allen, kind enough to join us. Huh?
It doesn't have to change.
It doesn't?
Still call me that.
I can still call you the greatest three-point shooter of all time?
Yeah.
Are you the greatest three-point shooter of all time?
Well, that's certainly subjective, depending on who you're talking to. And I think that's something that it's interesting when we talk about that in sports, when we talk about who we think the greatest of all times is, when you're talking about, whatever quarterbacks to, best basketball players. I think it's important to understand, because we all have a different perspective. If you live in a great football city or basketball city, you've seen great basketball and what it means to you. And the game has certainly changed over the years. So as I've always tried to push who I think the greatest of all times is in any particular sport, I started to think about it, and I was like, but that's to me, it's my opinion. And, kids today, they see what they see based on, social media, and they can't imagine somebody being better than the current players that are playing today.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at volume, and really, I don't even know how to quantify this record, because it's not like Barry Bonds' home run record or Kareem's all-time scoring list. This is Steph Curry at the right time in the right place gets an opportunity to take 8 to 10 to 12 three-pointers. When you first started out, you were shooting less than 4 three-pointers a game. If you were starting out now, you're probably shooting 8 to 10 to 12 three-pointers a game, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, most definitely. When I first got into the league, to shoot a three-pointer was like, it was like forbidden. Like, the coach got mad at you, he'd take you out of the game. He wanted you to swing the ball, throw it into the post. And so, it started to evolve. So I've been seeing all these posts about, how many games I played and with my record compared to Steph. And I thought to myself, I was like, what actually does that mean? Because everybody's like, oh, he did this many more games. And to your point, we shouldn't be comparing, because it has nothing to do. It doesn't say that he's a better shooter than me, or I'm a better shooter than him, or we're better than Reggie. It just is a number based on the time frame that we've played in and how we've had an effect on the game while we played. Because I would never say that I was better than Reggie, because Reggie basically, he grew a lot of us young shooters up, and we idolized what he did, and we kind of built into our practice, into our routines, into how we play the game off of the example that he set. And so to try to compare myself to him is like, he's part of me. And that's kind of, I think, as we start to move on, each generation sees what the previous one did, and they build off of what they did. And that's what makes the game great and the players great, because of who's come before them.
Ever lose confidence in your shot?
I think I've lost confidence in my shot. I know I always was going to be able to shoot the next shot, but the thing that's most difficult is when you go into a slump, it seems like you're the only one that's trying to help you get out of that slump, because the escalator moves on, because every coach is like, well, he's not shooting the ball well, so we'll sit him down and put somebody else in. And so I'm like, well, coach, I need more touches. So it's certain for shooters, you have to be able to find a way to get to the free throw line, to get the easy layups, to do the things that don't put pressure on your long ball.
Who taught you how to shoot?
Well, my dad was a great shooter. He shot right-handed and left-handed. I always give credit to Jeff Lynch at the base that I grew up in Edwards Air Force Base. I'm Phil Pleasant, because they gave me the fundamentals. I still have the video of when I was shooting free throws, and it looked very terrible. And then as I got older, I had, Coach Hobbs, who's now at Rutgers. They had a big win last night. I don't know if you've seen that shot.
Yeah, I did. And Ron Harper's son hit the game winner.
Ron Harper Jr. So congratulations to Rutgers on that game winner. But Coach Hobbs he was a guards coach at UConn my freshman year, and that was his first year at UConn. And he gave me these tools to work on that I needed to get better at shooting and being a guard in college. So it seems like there's not one person, but there's a collection of people over the years. And I don't think any year that I played, I thought I was good, but I was always getting pushed by somebody from one year to the next, and something was being added to my training, to workouts, and I soaked it up every year.
But you start to look at around the NBA, and there are guys who just can't shoot.
Yeah.
How do you react to that when you see a guy who can't even make 50% of his free throws?
Well, I've come to find out that free throws, it's just focus. And I think we don't understand how emotional they are. And if you don't take that emotion that you have in games, think about it, you either just got knocked down, you hard foul, the score of the game, you're either down 2 and you got to make these 2, or, you're up 2 and you got to ice the game. There's different scenarios that force you to think about the free throw. And if you don't practice that during practice, then you're not preparing yourself for the game. And then further, when you think about so many guys shooting threes, how many guys take a 3 when they don't need to, and they can just kind of take that 1-2 dribble and get the mid-range jump shot. And that takes the pressure off the 3 ball, a time when you didn't need it. And you figure if you took 9 threes in a game, and you're like 2 for 9, if you only took 6 and you're 2 for 6, you get those other little mid-range shots going, then you might even be 4 for 6 because now you got yourself a little confidence going.
Would you be in favor of moving the 3-point line back?
No, I don't think moving it back.
What if you eliminated the 3-point shot?
It would definitely make the game more methodical, I think, because then you'd have to move around.
Better? Would it make it better?
I don't think so. I think it'd be more helter-skelter, because the 3-point line it gives us a sense of spacing. It's a threat. It gives us, for the defense. But I think the best way to use the 3-pointer is just to threaten your opponent that you can shoot it, and then you set it up with your great shooters, and you're able to get into the paint and do other things.
Yeah, but there's no movement in basketball. There's a lot of stand around because of the 3-point shot. And you got guys who are shooting threes who shouldn't be shooting threes, Ray. It's your fault.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't blame myself at all, by the way. I like to think that I put some good stuff out there and set a good tone, but I think what it boils down to is a lot of the coaches, when you think about what they accept and what they allow. Because in the last 6-7 years, I'd be watching games, even in the high school level. I don't see it as much in college, but you see kids shooting between half court and the 3-point line, and then the coaches don't say anything. Like, I get it. The 3 is worth more than the 2, but at some point, a coach has to reel in certain guys and say, percentage wise, until you get, work on this shot and you get better attempts and you're more efficient, I don't want you shooting threes. I want you to get to the basket. We've lost a little bit of the mid-range game and the post game for sure.
Well, what would happen if Shaq was playing now? If Shaq came into the league right now?
The league, it would have to change again, because Shaq was just too dominant. I believe that the way to go back, because we're a copycat league. So when Golden State started winning championships, what happened was everybody had to adjust to how they played if they wanted to try to beat them. So they sped up their games. A lot of people started finding shoot threes and 3 shooters and trying to get them to shoot the ball. A lot of bigs lost their jobs. They moved to the benches. Philly had the kid from Duke.
Elton Brand?
No. A little bit younger, big guy. He came into the league as they started shooting threes, and then he actually had no place. I can't think of his name right now. But until Philly wins the NBA championship, that's when I think it's going to revert back to, a big, because you got Embiid down there. That team right now saying we don't really have to to deal with him because they're not dominating the Eastern Conference and the NBA to where we need a defensive big and a big that can score on him down low. Right now, we don't have that. And so until they do that and they change it, the game is going to be where it is.
We're talking to Ray Allen, the two-time NBA champ, the all-time leader in three-pointers made. Have you been asked to go to the game in Philadelphia or in Indiana, the next two games for Steph?
Yeah, I spoke with the people with the Warriors, and I actually spoke with Steph a little bit, trying to kind of help him navigate this whole process. It's an exciting time for him, and I try to give him the kind of what I was dealing with, and going into the game and everything that led up to it, and I was fortunate because it was I broke the record in Boston against the Lakers with Reggie in the building. So it's just only appropriate that I find my way there by hook or by crook. I don't know where it's going to be, so I got to kind of watch this thing. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm coaching myself, Gulliver Prep here in Miami.
Yeah.
And so we have games as well. So it's kind of like a tricky situation for me trying to navigate kind of what it is that happens with them. But
why don't you go and heckle him, Ray? Why don't you put up a sign or yell out, "I'm the king"?
Because if you haven't watched anything over the last 12 years, that's not going to bother Steph.
I know. Who do you think would be a better three-point shooter, knowing who they are, if they started out now, Kobe or Michael?
Well, I think they both were underrated three-point shooters. When you think about it's like if you could do one thing great and a couple things great, then some of the other things get overshadowed. Mike just never really had to shoot threes because he was so good inside the paint. Kobe was so good just scoring in general. So if I had to say between both of them, it's hard because they both play with their back to the basket. They both were slashers at the rim. I just don't think that their games were designed to just sit out there and wait and sit behind a three-point line.
But better form, better shooting form. Jordan or Kobe?
Better form, Jordan for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
See, this may sound strange to you. I think Klay Thompson is a better stand shooter than Steph is. Steph is, it's like Steph just creates. Klay, get the ball, maybe one dribble or catch and shoot is more dangerous than Steph. Is that a fair assessment in your opinion?
Well, I wouldn't say more dangerous because Steph has the ball all the time. So you have to really take that offense or that defense and you have to contribute two and then sometimes three guys to him. And then that's where everybody around him is able to be great in their roles. But in my comparison with Klay is moving without the ball. He can shift the defense. When he gets open, everybody gets open. Similar to how I played. I believe that Steph is in a lane of his own that I don't think he has. You can say, he and Damian Lillard with their ability to shoot from deep and be able to handle the ball and get to the paint. But Steph gets to the paint more than Lillard does. But I would compare Klay more to myself and Reggie because we are moving without the ball. We're kind of on the weak side a lot. And throw Rip Hamilton in there, even though Rip wasn't he wasn't a big volume three-point shooter, but to be able to move the defense and to come off pin downs and screens and shoot in transition without touching the ball, that's a real talent.
Is LeBron a good shooter?
I say he's a good shooter, but he's also a field shooter. The more he has the ball in his hands, he can make shots. He's a shot maker.
Yeah, I don't like the form, and I don't like that he's taken all these threes, but I think that might come as you get older, that you just don't want to drive to the hoop and take the beating.
Yeah, and you feel it. When you get older, you feel, you don't have that there's like a sponginess, for lack of a better term, that your body, your calves, your ankles, you feel that sponginess when you're younger. When you get older, that goes away a little bit. And so you can work on jumping just that much and perfect your shooting from outside. Like, I had one of my best shooting nights when I had patella tendonitis when I was playing in Milwaukee, and I just managed how to come off a screen and shoot just by jumping a little bit and pushing the rest away with my hands. And so LeBron, with his size, he has so much upper body strength, though he's going to be able to maintain shooting and shooting well, but he has to have the ball in his hands to keep that rhythm.
Did you ever airball a three-pointer?
I'm not going to say no, because I'm sure somebody could find somewhere. But I always get on my kids, because I said, varsity players, you guys should not be shooting air balls nowhere. Get the ball, let it hit the rim. But, just like anything, never up, never in. So shooting the air balls, like, you didn't even have a shot of it going in.
But see, you got to show your kids, and I do think this is great, because people now, they find you again, and then we talk about you. So I think even though you're going to lose this record, it's also great to shine the spotlight on you one more time, or at least one more time, with your greatness at shooting.
Yeah, and then it goes back to Reggie as well, because there's a beginning, and then there's a where we are now. And
how about an over 50 3-point shooting contest?
Over 50?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be surprised. Over 50 guys can still shoot. Reggie can still shoot. You see Reggie, he's a cyclist. He keeps himself.
Well, you're not 50 yet, so.
Not yet.
How old are you?
46.
Okay, so an over 45 3-point shooting contest. Are you the one seed?
I like my odds.
Okay.
Against anybody over 45 for sure.
Reggie's still pretty good.
Yeah, everybody's good. Like the one thing that you have to remember, and I tell this to everybody that is a fan of mine or loves the way I shot the ball, is that for a majority of my career, I wasn't the best player. I won't say majority, but for a lot of teams I played on, I wasn't the best shooter on my teams. I had Eddie House, great shooter, and was like the microwave.
I think you're being humble. Humble.
I'm telling you, these guys, it's like when you see that every day and you're pushing and they're shooting the ball, like Mike Miller, James Jones, Michael Redd, like those types of guys, they shoot the ball so well. And when you see them shooting in a practice, they're going at your head every single drill. And it pushes you, and you just stay challenged, you stay competing. And without guys like that on my team, it's hard for me to think how good I actually could have been without that example.
Maybe I get Bird. Bird's 65. He might be able to give you one rack. He'd be able to give you one rack of balls, talk some smack.
But remember, Bird didn't rely on athleticism to shoot, so it's all in his hands and his wrists. So I do believe he can still shoot it.
And you pointed out, that people forget this, that Steph with the legs, Trae Young with the legs, like your shot starts with your legs. And I think people forget about that when you're trying to create your jump shot there. And that's, I think, an underrated part of great deep shooters.
Yeah, and if you go back to every All-Star weekend, when you look at the 3-point shootout, you listen to the commentary of the broadcast, and they talk about the guys who have a greater chance of winning because they are more push shot shooters. So you see they get the ball and they just push it from here, and they get to the rack and they just push, and they don't rely heavily on their lower body. And however you do it, it requires practice and understanding what your release point is every time you shoot it. And you got to get it off quick, obviously playing around great athletes. So you take Steph, he doesn't have a lot of movement in his lower body. Same thing with Trae Young. And so they get the ball off quick because it's to get the ball, you just push it up there, and they perfected that. So it's not, when people look at me, when they look at Reggie, when they look at Dale Curry, Dale shot the ball up here. So when you look at all these different shooters, everybody has a different form. Mine was severely reliant on, my legs, my lower body. So, you catch me on a shoot around in Chicago in January and February, I was having a tough go at it to start the day, because that United Center at the time was like, it felt like 30 degrees inside. I'm like, I can't jump. Everything I'm shooting is front rim. I'm like, I just don't. So for me, I had to really get warmed up. And I had to understand my body.
Yeah, but Ray, it didn't bother Michael Jordan jumping in the United Center.
Nope. And that's why he was great at 7:30 at night.
Yes, he was. Every night at 7:30, he was great. Hey, great to talk to you again, and hopefully you get some more recognition out of this. And thanks for joining us, Ray.
All right, Dad. Thanks for seeing me.
That's Ray Allen, Hall of Famer, 2-time NBA champ, and 10-time All-Star.